All right. Hey guys, and welcome to Through the Grace. Today I wanted to cover with you guys how I'm going to be recovering my Geneva Bible. Okay, it's a Geneva 1560 facsimile. You can buy them on Amazon for right now they're on sale for like $43, but you can buy them typically for $65 on Amazon, and they come with this hardcover on them, and they also come with the Apocrypha in there. So I recovered mine because it's such a heavy Bible, and I wanted it to have a nice soft cover, nice soft leather. And from what I've seen, I haven't seen too many videos that show how to change from a hardcover and removing the Apocrypha ever. I haven't seen any videos removing any part of a book. And so but here's the Apocrypha I took out of my Bible. All right, and so it's not like super thick, but it does make a big difference. And I covered my Bible with chrome tan leather that I bought from a leather store. Okay, it smells really good. I bought some stamps. I don't know if you guys can see, but I got 1560 on here, and I stamped Geneva in it. Okay, so it turned out really good, but I want to show you guys the process that I did here. And so we're going to get into that, and I'm going to go inside and we'll start doing my wife's Bible. That's this one. Okay, so we're going to change it over to the same thing. And let's see, but let me get over here onto the Bible, and then you can see what I did here, and the paper that I used, this extra large cardstock that I got from Hobby Lobby. Okay, and how I glued it in. I apparently used a little bit too much glue, so this is like kind of stiff, but I mean it's not like store quality, but it's really nice. Okay, it turned out great. So I want to show you guys how to do it in case you're interested in recovering your own Bible. Okay, and here comes Hazel to check out the Bible that I'm doing here. Hi, Hazel. Oh, I love you too. Thanks. Oh, you're a sweet girl. I know, I love you. All right, let's check it out. Okay, so first thing I do is I take the bookmarker here, and that throughout the whole process will help me remember where the top of the book is. Okay, and then I confirm that by just looking at the pages. All right, everything is upright the way it's supposed to be. What I'm going to do now is I cut where they already had an overlap of the papers. So I already made my cut here. I cut through it twice, and what I use is just a little ruler here. I make my cut twice, score it twice, then I take the X-Acto knife and I run it up underneath the glue to separate it from what it's glued to, which is this fabric and hard cover that we're getting away from. Okay. All right, so next we're gonna remove the paper backing on this, and we're gonna remove both of the headbands. Thank you, headbands. And then there's gonna be a mess underneath here. We're gonna clean that off, and then we're gonna get into cutting out the Apocrypha in here. All right. Okay, so I got a bent razor blade here. I just take a razor blade and I bend it a little bit, and then that gets you into whatever part of the paper or whatever you're trying to cut off without cutting the other part, because the blade is then lifted up. Okay. This is what it should look like when you're done removing both of the headbands and the paper on the back. And one thing that did help me out with that a lot, as a side note, was I did use a pick on some of the more stubborn glue areas. So now I'm ready to remove the Apocrypha. Okay, and so then I've already found the spot. Now it's not in a convenient section, unfortunately, so you have to cut through some paper that's folded and goes to another area. Okay, so I found the spot where it begins in the Apocrypha. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly score this, and as it's skipping along, that's where the threads are from the original binding. And I'm just lightly watching my line and dragging it. If it takes a few times, that's all right. I expect that, and it's going to just fall apart when it is done, but you don't want to score it heavy. All right, now I got that part done, so it's time to score the other part, and we're just going to do the same thing. So one of the most important things here that I'm noticing is that your lighting in your room has to be good, okay? But just do the same thing and make sure that you are able to see your line really good and cut that Apocrypha out. Okay, next I have a book vise that I made, and if you have just a couple of pieces of wood at your house, it doesn't matter what it is, pay attention to the length of the bolts that you buy. These are carriage bolts, so if you can get around over here and look at the head of the carriage bolts, this is the kind that has like the square on the collar part. Okay, it's a collared square. If you're not familiar with carriage bolts, and get washers that fit over that square part, and then basically just buy some long ones. I bought these at Ace. Nuts and bolts and washers. Okay, probably cost me like $5 or something like that. So then now we have a book vise. So I have just a little bit of the book sticking up here, and now what I'm going to do, because I separated the Apocrypha out of there, so now I have the Old and New Testament separate, I'm going to choose 4 spots where the original string is inside of here, and I'm going to mark the 4 spots. Then I'm going to take string after I cut grooves in those spots, and I'm going to put new string in there, okay? And then I'm going to glue that string in here with the neutral pH glue that I have. It's important to have neutral pH glue because it doesn't have any acid in it, so it won't cause yellowing or anything over in the book over time, okay? So what I'm going to do here, if you can watch this part, is I'm going to choose 4 good spots. So what I usually do is I go with the original string spots that I can see. There's one. Well, now I know that I don't want to go to the bottommost one. I want to go from the next one up. And then I'm going to choose 2 more in the middle. So it looks like I have 2 that I'm not touching in between. Okay. And 1, 2. And we'll go with this one. And on the one that I just did, it worked out excellent. So now what I'm going to do is I'm either going to, and this is up to you, but last time I used X-Acto knife, and I started just digging out these sections just like this, okay? So I'm either going to do that right now, or I'm going to try something different. And if you guys have a Dremel, I'm going to try a Dremel this time, and I'm just carefully going to just buzz a little groove in there and then lay my string in. So now I'll show that part, okay? But the other thing is, now the book is smaller, so obviously this headband isn't going to fit. It's too big. So what I have to do now is I have to mark this, cut it down, and then I'll show you what the next step is. Okay, next we're going to be cutting this back piece, which is the just cardstock. Yeah, cardstock. So the cardstock that we got is from Hobby Lobby, and it is I don't know how long it is. They're pretty long. Yeah, if you can.
12 by 18 or something like that.
12 by 18. Okay.
12 by 24. Oh, never mind.
12 by 24. There it is. Okay. So it's a multi-pack, multi-colors, whatever. So this is what I'm doing. And I'm going to mark this. Does not need to be like super exact, you know what I mean? Like, this is not going to be seen, but this is just going to be a reinforcement in the spine. Okay, so this is just my top and bottom marks. I'm going to cut this like this over here. I'm using cutting wheel. I use this for leather a lot and for paper, and it's amazing. If you don't have one, then you should get one. Now I have one more measurement to make, and this is the paper that I'm going to be using for the inside pieces before the leather anyway. And the leather's going to glue onto this. All right, so you can choose whichever color you want that way, and use a light amount of glue, lighter than what I used on the last one. So I'm going to use acid brushes to spread the glue around this time, so I can spread it lighter. I tried foam brushes last time, and it didn't turn out that well. I didn't like it. So now what I'm going to do to mark this one, I'm leaving it just inside this edge right here. I don't want it all the way to the edges because of the headbands, right? So I'm going to cut this one like about, it's almost 3/16 of an inch. Okay, so same thing with this. I'm going to mark it again. Here we go. That'll be good. Now, we'll zip this one off. Actually, I guess I could just use scissors on this one. Okay, that'll be good. And then now next step is I'm going to take the pH neutral or neutral pH glue. I'm going to spread it on here so we'll get a shot of that. And then the headers as well, the headbands, I'm sorry. And one of the tricky parts is getting these to stay in. If I had a glue stick right now, I would run these on the edge of a glue stick and then stick them in there just so they'd want to stay better, okay? I don't have a glue stick here, and Elmer's glue stick would be great. So let's see how this is going to work out next, because we're ready to start gluing this, okay? Okay, this is cheesecloth, and the cheesecloth needs to go in the binding on top of the strings before you put your paper piece in on the spine, okay? And it is not that easy to cut the cheesecloth, and I believe I got this from Hobby Lobby also.
Yes. From the sewing department.
From the sewing department, okay. So I'm cutting on a plastic table here, and it does kind of like stick into the table as I'm cutting it, as you can see. So whatever, it's not a big deal, it cleans off easy. But now this is going to be ready to lay on there, and it reinforced that backing, okay? Other bookbinders that I've seen didn't even use this, but I want it to be amazing. So we're going to super reinforce it here, okay? Okay, so this is the type of neutral pH glue that you'd want to get. Other people that I've seen doing bookbinding use this stuff. I divided it into different containers so that it's more controllable. My daughter had a great idea to put it into this container first, which then can squirt into one of these little containers, which I got from Hobby Lobby, okay? So, this stuff does start to set up pretty quick. So, what I'm going to do is just get a good amount on here. One person said that they were doing 2 coats for it to stay on there better, and that sounds really amazing. I don't know if I can do that. Now, one thing I've come into a challenge with, even on the last one, was keeping the string to stay in there. Like I said, if I had Elmer's glue, that'd be like amazing. The glue stick. So anyway, I don't. So let's see. A little too much. Okay. I like using 2 layers here. This actually worked out a lot better because it allowed the glue to dry on that first layer most of the way, and the string is staying in there good now. And the reason I like that is because that means that after I get this last layer on here, then I can cut the string confidently a lot sooner, because it had that air drying on it. It wasn't covered by the paper, so then I can get it out of my vise, my book vise here, even sooner. Okay, now here we go. Here's the cheesecloth. Just going to reinforce it now. I got to do a little bit more glue here on top of this. Just a little bit. That's okay. You're good.
Get
You're
over.
good.
Oh, yeah. Come here.
He said maybe.
Oh boy, last time I used this spreader, so I think I'm gonna have to try this again. But the thing I didn't like about the spreader is that that this is like a glue spreader that they sell at Hobby Lobby. I'm not even sponsored by Hobby Lobby. Look at all the stuff I'm mentioning here. But this really keeps it thick on there, and I don't want to keep it thick because I want it to dry faster. So I'm just gonna work this in as best I can here and try to spread it around really good. And obviously, you see how it's like kind of making a mess and like all this stuff is like hanging off the sides. I'm going to trim that later, so it's not going to be an issue at all. Okay. It's after it's dry. Alright, next we're gonna glue. So don't put too much because last time I had it actually running out the side. So we're just I'm gonna do the amount that I saw this other lady do on TikTok. This is supposed to be pretty light actually, so, and remember this is the flap that I left in the beginning, so we're gonna be gluing up onto that flap. So we'll see, maybe I have to add some glue here, but I taped a couple of acid brushes together. I've already pre-cut the paper that I want to go in there, so that's going to be my nice seam once I lay this on here. Then I'll be ready to glue the leather onto this, okay? So let's see how we can spread this out here. Oh, you know one thing I forgot? Let me get it real quick. Is this. Because the glue can get messy, so get a piece of scrap cardstock and put it there so that if you go off, which you will, then it'll be right there. Oh boy, this acid brush is leaving some hairs behind. Okay, that's going pretty good actually. And it's a lot lighter than last time, so I'm really liking it actually with the acid brushes here. I'm going to get it all the way to the edge. And this stuff does start to dry pretty quick when it's thin, so I gotta get on it here. Now I didn't get a piece of junk paper to put down here. Use this. That'll be good. Here we go. Put it in the corner. Good to go. Now, oh, got my hand in it. And I don't have any paper towels. Okay. And that's it. Now what I'm going to do is take my spreader here and I'm going to smooth it out so that there's no air bubbles. Okay, and that's the next step right there. Okay, so the next step that we're doing is, since you have if you have your leather cut, then we need to make sure that it's going to match the edge width all the way around. So what I do, I actually already cut mine, but what you're going to be doing is lining everything up, pre-fitting it, and then what I'm doing is I look at this edge, I wrap it over tight, and then I flip it over and I make sure, and then what I did was I took a marker and I marked this edge so that I could cut it to the exact same overhang as the other side. Okay, now that I know what the size is and we're good to go, I'm gonna round the corners, and you can do whatever kind of round that you want to do. So just figure out what you want to do for your rounded corners and make it happen. Okay. Okay, now we're finally ready to glue on the Bible cover. We did our stamping, so do whatever stamping you want. Buy a stamp kit, watch some stamping videos, whatever. So now I'm lining up these edges, but nothing's glued down here yet. So what I'm doing is I'm just looking at what my original overhang was, and I'm doing that right now. I'm keeping in mind what the top of the Bible is, which is where this band is, okay? And so now I'm going to wrap it over tightly, And I'm going to flip it over and do my first side. I want to look at it, and I'm looking at the top and bottom. Looks good. Now, here we go. Okay. And my gaps should still look good. It looks like it actually moved a little bit. So, there we go. Now, I think I'm good to go. Let me double check this again here. Yep, that looks good. Good. Okay. Now it's time to glue, okay? So, one of the keys to gluing here is you can use like a small bottle like this and just to have a little bit more focus here on the edge. But I'm going to make sure that I stay 3/16 of an inch away from this edge, okay? So that's kind of why I start using like the little one, is to just keep that 3/16 away from the edge. And I don't want a ton of glue here. That's why I'm not using the big one, okay? So get that 3/16, quarter of an inch, whatever. And now I'm ready to use the big one, okay? I'm just doing a little bit extra here, but okay. And so another thing here is I'm going to put my clean my sheet that keeps it clean, okay, my other extra cardstock cut off. And now I'm ready to apply the rest of the glue, and I don't want to do a super huge amount because it will cause the paper to wrinkle, right? So that should be good right there. So when I'm doing stuff like this, I like to do the big spreading type of thing first, do the big amount, and then work on the details, okay? So the reason I say that is because you don't want to get into a tendency of focusing on the little details right now, and then the glue starts drying on you, okay? So do it big first, and then tighten it up into the smaller detail work. And remember that if you use just the right amount of glue, then it won't take forever to set up also. So one thing I don't think that I mentioned is that this pH glue is supposed to be more flexible, and this is what they use, what pros use for rebinding books. So you don't need to overdo it, and you don't want glue squirting out the edges, okay? So this is the back side. We're ready. I'm going to pull this out and not make a mess, hopefully. Here we go. That is ready to overlay. And I want, now take notice that we did not glue the spine, right? Because the way that we're doing this here, we want the spine to have free movement. So we're not gluing the spine, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put something really heavy on top of this when I'm done, so it'll dry nice and flat, okay? So I'm not going to be using the spreader, any type of squeegee on this right now. Now, I'm going to check my edges before I go. I'm going to flip it over. Okay. This is the top of my Bible. This is the front. We're good to go. Ready to do it again. Okay, I gotta get a clean sheet in here to keep things clean. Okay. You can see the sections here where it's kind of thick. So work on pushing those out. One thing I don't think you really need to worry about is like getting the corners perfect, because afterwards what you can do when you're done, like the next day, is you can just go back in with a little bit of glue and just squirt some in there and put some pressure on it, some type of weight or something like that, and it'll be good to go. Okay, so don't get hung up on that. Okay, we're gonna lay this over and we're ready to go. Trying to make sure I don't have glue on my hands. I don't want to get glue on the top of the Bible. Okay, I'm ready to put a weight on it. That's it. That's how you cover a Bible.